Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry. Um, just because we're home doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue with Ivan. We don't want to forget him. So I'm going to do a little reading for you. So if you remember correctly, the last time we read, Ivan is now finger painting, and his goal is, he's painting one picture at a time and laying them all out on the ground. So this is kind of the way that he knows how to cheer Ruby up or make her life a little bit better. And so that's where we are right now, imagining. It's different now when I paint. I'm not painting what I see in front of me, a banana, an apple. I'm painting what I see in my head, things that don't exist, at least not yet. We hope so. I pull out knot tag stuffing. Carefully, I fill her with my paintings, hiding them so Mac won't sell them. She's large, bigger than Bob, but I still have to crumble a few of them. So remember, knot tag is his stuffed animal. So he pulled out the stuffing and stuffed all his pictures inside to keep them from Mac. I mean, that's really ingenious. Bob tries to settle on her for a nap. You've killed her, he complains. I had to, I say. I miss your stomach, Bob admits. It's so spacious. So Bob can't sleep on Ivan anymore, and now we can't sleep on knot tag because it's like crumbled paper in there. When Julia arrives, she notices that I've used up my paints and paper. Wow, Julia shakes her head. You are one serious artist, Ivan. One more thing. My finger painting has sold for $40 with the frame. Mac is happy. He brings me a huge pile of paper and big buckets of paint. Get to work, he says. I paint for Mac during the day and for Ruby at night. I nap when I can. Here he is, painting his pictures. Cute. Oh, look at Ruby. But my nighttime picture isn't quite right. It's big, that's for sure, and when I place all the pieces on the floor of my cage side by side, the cement is almost completely covered. But something is still missing. Bob says I'm crazy. There's Ruby, he says, pointing with his nose. There's the zoo. There are other elephants. What's wrong with it? It needs one more thing, I say. Bob groans. You're being a temperamental artist. What could be missing? I stare at the huge expanse of colors and shapes. I don't know how to explain to Bob that it isn't done yet. I'll just have to wait, I say at last. Something will come to me, and then I'll know my painting is finally ready. I feel like I know what he means, because sometimes I feel a little empty, or if I'm working on a project and it seems to be done, but there's just something. I know that eventually it will come to me and I will feel good about it. And I feel like that's kind of where he's at right now. The 7:00 show. During the last show of the day, Ruby seems tired. When she stumbles, Mac reaches for the claw stick. I tense, waiting for her to strike back. Ruby doesn't even flinch. She just keeps plodding along, and after a while, Snickers jumps onto her back. 12. I lie in my cage with Bob at my stomach. We are watching Julia do her homework. She doesn't seem to be annoying. She doesn't seem to be enjoying it. I can tell because she is sighing more than usual. Again, for the 100th time, or maybe the 1000th, I wonder what is missing from my painting. And for the 100th time, or maybe the 1000th, I don't have an answer. Dad, Julia says as George passes by with a mop, can I ask you a question? May I, George corrects. Ask away. Oh boy, you guys know that's totally me. I would say that. Julia glances down at a piece of paper. What's the difference between the word spelled Principal and the one spelled Principle? Principal. The first one is the head of a school, like Miss Garcia or Miss Broadwald. The second one is a belief that helps you know what's right or wrong. He smiles. For example, it's against my principles to do my daughter's homework for her. Julia groans. If I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, why do I need to know how to spell? With a laugh, George heads off. Poor Julia, I think. Gorillas get by just fine without learning how to spell. All those endless letters, those sticks and circles and zigzags filling up books and magazines, billboards and candy wrappers. Words. Humans love their words. You know I do. I leap up. Bob goes flying straight into my pool. A word. You know how I feel about wet feet, Bob yells. He scrambles out of the water, shaking each foot in dismay. I look out of my window at the billboard. I could still hear Mac's voice in my head. Come to the next Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan, mighty Silverback. I count to 12, and then I count again, just to be sure. H. I lay out 16 pieces of poster board, 4 down, 4 across. Perfect square. What are you up to? Bob demands. I'm guessing it doesn't involve sleep. It has to do with the billboard. That sign's a monstrosity, particularly since I'm not featured. I grab my bucket of red paint. You're not on the billboard because you're not in the show, I point out. Technically, I don't even live here, Bob says with a sniff. I am homeless by choice. I know, I'm just saying. I study the billboard and then I make 2 fat lines like broom handles. Another fat line connects them. I stand back. What do you think? It looks like an H. What is it? No, wait, let me guess. A ladder? Not a ladder, I say. A letter. At least, I think that's what they're called. I have to make 3 more. Bob huddles up next to Not Tag. Why, he asks, yawning. Because then I'll have a word. A very important word. I dip my fingers into the paint. What word, Bob asks. Home. Bob closes his eyes. That's not so important, he says quietly. Next chapter, nervous. All day long, I knuckle walk circles around my cage. I'm so nervous, I can't nap. I can't even eat. Well, not very much anyway. I'm ready to show Julia what I've made. It has to be Julia. She's an artist. Surely she'll truly look at my painting. She won't notice the smudges in my tears. She won't care if the pieces don't quite fit together. She'll see past all of that. Surely Julia will see what I've imagined. I watch Ruby trudge sullenly through the 4 o'clock show, and I wonder, what will happen if I fail? What will happen if I can't make Julia understand? But of course I know the answer. Nothing. Nothing will happen. Ruby will remain the main attraction at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, conveniently located off of I-95, which shows at 2, 4, and 7, 365 days a year, year after year after year. It's time to show Julia my work. The mall is silent, except for Thelma, the macaw, who is practicing her new phase. Uh-oh. Julia is finishing her homework. George is sweeping outside. Mac has gone home for the night. I grab Not Tag and carefully pull out the folded papers. So many paintings. Page after page, piece after piece of my giant puzzle. I pound on my glass and Julia glances over. Fingers trembling, I hold up one of my paintings. It's brown and green, a corner piece. Julia smiles. I display another picture, and then another and another and another, each one a tiny part of a whole. Julia looks confused. But what is it? She asks. She shrugs. It doesn't matter. It's pretty just as it is. Uh-oh, says Thelma. No, I think. No. It doesn't matter. More paintings. George calls out to Julia. He's done for the night. Grab your backpack, he says, and hurry, it's late. Gotta go, Ivan, Julia says. Julia doesn't understand. I have to find the right pieces. I dig through the pile. They're here somewhere. I know they are. I find one and another and another, and I try to hold 4 of them up against the glass. Bob, I say, help me, hurry. Bob grabs paintings with his teeth and drags them to me. One by one, I shove pictures through the window crack, and they crumble and they tear. There are too many pieces. My puzzle is too big. Careful, Ivan, Julia says. Those might be worth millions someday. You never know. She arranges the paintings into a neat stack. I suppose Mac's going to want to sell these at his gift shop. Oh, no. She still doesn't understand. I shove more out of the hole, and more, all of them, one in another. So Ivan's been painting, has he? George says as he puts on his coat. A lot, Julia says with a laugh. A whole lot. You're not taking all those home with you, are you? George asks. I mean, no offense to Ivan, but they're just blobs. Julia thumbs through the towering stack of paintings. They might not be blobs for Ivan. Let's leave those at the office, George suggests. Mac will want to try selling them. Although why would anyone pay $40 for a finger painting of a 2-year-old that a 2-year-old could do? I don't know. I like Ivan's work, Julia says. He puts his feelings into them. He puts his hair into them, George says. Julia waves goodbye. Night, Ivan. Night, Bob. I press my nose against the glass and watch her walk away. All my work, all my planning, wasted. I look at Ruby sleeping soundly, and suddenly I know she'll never leave the Big Top Mall. She'll be here forever, just like Stella. I can't let Ruby be another one and only. I think we're going to stop there. How are you feeling for Ivan right now? Like, are you frustrated? Because I feel quite frustrated for him. I mean, he's trying to explain this to Julia and he just can't. And now I worry because, she took all his paintings and Mac's going to do something different with them. Anyways, let me know what you think. Give me a video. Talk to you soon.